I'm Katrina and this is Tare. Welcome to this video. I will be making, it's called Lemon Tang Pastry, Madame Benoit's no-fail pastry. I got this online years ago and I do not remember, I didn't copy down the website, but that is the name. This is not original recipe, but I will be substituting, instead of 1 egg, you use 4 quail eggs. So I tried to split this up so I can do 1 pie crust, and you don't do that because the recipe calls for 1 chicken egg. So you could potentially split this up with quail eggs to make a smaller batch, but really there's no point in making a smaller batch because this is made to freeze. It's best rolled out after it's been frozen and then thawed just a little bit. It's still cold. I mean, it thawed all the way, but so it's still cold when you roll it, and that is the best way to do it. And because I'm doing this tonight and I'm getting this out tomorrow, I'm not going to show you rolling it in this video. We can do that in the next pie video. But this is how I do it. This is how I've done it for years. It is a different kind of pie crust. It's not the flaky, fall apart pie crust that everybody is crazy about, except for me. I'm not a fan of that because whenever you bite into it, it just like goes everywhere. So I like this pie crust. It does use egg and it uses lemon juice. Those are the two different ingredients than the typical pie crust that everybody grew up making. So ingredients are 5 cups flour, 1 teaspoon salt. I'll be using Himalayan salt. 3/4 teaspoon baking soda, 2 1/4 cup shortening. You could actually use lard instead of shortening. I have done that and it works fine. It's actually tastier. And then you'll need either 1 chicken egg or 4 quail eggs, or the equivalent, whatever, you know, however many quail eggs it is for your size quail eggs to make it 1 chicken egg. I just go by 4. My eggs have been consistently 3 egg yolks and 4 egg whites equals a chicken egg, large chicken egg, but I just go with 4 because it really doesn't make that much of a difference to have a little bit more yolk. Yeah, and lemon juice and water, and that's it. So let's get started, and this is a yummy pie crust. Here we go. Now, if you notice stuff happening behind me, I am making dinner. That is actually going to be another video. We're steaming some rabbit backs, so stay tuned for that video at some point. First up is 5 cups of flour, and I use regular white flour. I try to get unbleached if I can, but if you make this all with wheat flour, it's gonna have a different consistency. I have cut it half and half and it works, but honestly, if you're gonna make pie, just go with the regular flour. All right, there's our 5 cups. Next is 1 teaspoon salt. 1 teaspoon salt. 3/4 teaspoon baking powder. 3/4 is 1/2 plus 1/4. So my other one is dirty, so I'm going to use 1/2 plus 1/2 of 1/2, approximately. And use a whisk or a fork to mix. I see no difference between a fork and a whisk, honestly, with something at this level. It just needs to be incorporated. You have a really big batch or something, maybe a whisk would do better, but it works just fine. Alright, next up is 2 1/4 cup shortening. Now the best way I have found to measure out shortening, you can also use lard, is to use one of these rubber spatulas, because then you can get it out and then press it down into the actual measuring cup. You can also use a spoon and then use the rubber spatula to press it down in the measuring cup. Because if you don't press it down, then you're not going to have accurate measurement. And you do need that moisture and fat. So again, I just push it down all the way. You can see how much smaller in appearance that gets. And then try and flat out the top before looking at the side of where the measurement is. And we need more. All right, we're there. Next up, we're gonna plop this in with our dry mixture. Hopefully without powder going everywhere. Scrape the sides. Next, you can either use a pastry cutter or 2 butter knives. I prefer 2 butter knives. I don't even know if I have anymore. I used to have at least a pastry cutter, and it just, you have to kind of clean it out a lot, which I didn't like. So this is what I do. I hold it like this or like this. I usually end up holding it like this and make this motion is what I'm doing, okay? And what that does is it cuts in the shortening. This is literally called cutting in the shortening, or cutting in lard if you're using lard. And the result of this is you're going to want, it's supposed to look like rice, you know, like grains of rice. And you can kind of bring the flour into it or keep cutting around, and this goes pretty quickly. That sound you're hearing is just the serrations of the knives. It's nothing, and I'm going this way, then this way, just to make sure that I don't get buildup on one side. You can talk.
Oh, was I gonna say something?
No, what were you gonna? You have a look on your face.
Looks like you're karate chopping things.
Karate chopping things?
Yeah.
It's called cutting in. You've never seen this?
Is that an ancient process?
In ancient classes?
Process?
Probably. There is something called a pastry cutter that is this big U-shaped thing with multiple pieces of metal and then a handle on top, and you just go like that, but it always gets stuck. Like, you always have to clean it out, and so I do this.
Okay, I think you asked me to help you one time.
I did.
With that, and I did not succeed at that.
Nope, you got tired, huh?
Yeah.
Baking is for muscles, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why you have big muscles.
I'm gonna keep this discussion in the video. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Mm.
Baking is not for the weaks.
So you can see there's still some flour along the edges, but the most of it is, you know, looks pretty fine. Looks kind of like rice or a powder starting to. So we're getting close to done. I'm just going to take some from the outside, move it in. You can see we still have some bigger chunks. That's okay. Apparently the smoke alarm did not like the rabbit cooking. Smells good. It's steaming.
Smell like burning, I don't know.
No, it's because of the vapor. I forgot to turn on the fan.
Shouldn't not see it.
It's both, it has both kinds of sensors in it. There's 2 sensors in that one. Smoke alarm went off. It should be fine now. I turned on the fan. Thank you.
You're known for the next alarm. Looks pretty bright.
Alright, so I'm just targeting some of the bigger chunks here. Don't really have to do that, but I like to, just so I don't have 2 chunks. Alright, so that is probably good. Next, we can take our egg. It's either 1 chicken egg or 4 quail eggs, which is the equivalent of 1 chicken egg for my quail eggs, which are jumbo. So I have my 4 quail eggs here. You can do 1 chicken egg. And then I also have lemon juice. I have bottled lemon juice right now, but you could use real lemon juice. This is just kind of the last of what's in the refrigerator. 3 tablespoons. Uh-oh. Alright, it's like 3.5, it's like 2.5. I don't feel like getting a lemon, so we're just gonna go with that. It is supposed to be 3. Alright, and then enough water to bring this up to a cup. Whisk that all together, or with a fork, doesn't matter. Probably should have broke the eggs before I added the water, but I didn't. And now we can pour this in here. And we are going to mix. Now I am going to end up using my hands as this gets later. It just works better and you're able to get those extra chunks of shortening or lard mixed in, but I can start with this. So most of this is incorporated now. So most of it's incorporated. Here's where I get my hands in. So whenever I do anything kitchen related, I need a messy hand. I try and have a messy hand and a clean hand, just so that you can touch things, turn things on, you know, open the faucet up to wash your hand off or whatever. If I can. It doesn't always work that way, but if I can, then I like to do that. And for this, that works. Now you're not kneading it really, you're just kind of incorporating it. I know it looks kind of like I'm kneading it, I guess I kind of am, but it's more that you just want to incorporate everything in. Alright, so now this has really come together. And I just try and get everything from the sides of the bowls. We have a light out above here, so it's a little darker. Sorry, guys. So, at this point, I'm not going to get much on my hands. So you can see this clean hand. It's still clean when it comes off. This one has a little bit of stuff on it. You can just basically take it off there. At this point, I'm going to split it up into 3 even-ish pieces. Kind of put it together. Thank you. I need 6 bags opened, please, if you want to open them. If not, I can open them. Alright, so I'm just kind of making sure it's all incorporated, it's all good. And also making it into something even that I can pretty much just tear apart or cut. And that's about even. So I'm going to take a third and I'm just twisting it apart. And a third. There we go. Now, if you know you're going to do double pie crust, that's like an apple pie or like a cherry pie, something that has a crust on the top and the bottom, you can just put a third of this in a bag, if you know that. I like to separate them out into, sometimes I do that, and then sometimes I put it into individual pies. So like that is 2 pies worth. So if it's a single pie crust, then, and you only have a pie crust on the bottom, it's half of this. So you get 6 single pie crusts or 3 double pie crusts. So I'm going to go in half again. This is approximate. You could measure it out if you wanted to. It works just fine this way. All right. So I have 6 blobs here. If you're going to use it the next day, I would put it in the refrigerator. But how I like to do it is I like to have them in the freezer, ready to use at any time, and then it just takes a few hours to thaw. So I use these freezer bags, put it in the corner here, and then flatten it out. Now I flatten these out so that they store easily in my freezer. If you have a different way of storing things in your freezer, go ahead and do that. I've seen no need to use a vacuum sealer on this. I do suck out the air, just like with my mouth. We can argue about whether that's sanitary later. You can be as meticulous as you want with this. The flatter it is, the faster it will thaw, so that is something to pay attention to. Alright, so now you can label these, you can freeze them, and maybe this is bad practice, but I usually don't even label them. I can reuse the bags later. There's nothing else in my freezer that looks like this. The only time I might label them is if it's like, if I use part of it and put it back, then I might say how much is in there. But that will make a whole pie crust. And we have 6 of them. Put them in the freezer. Now the only thing you have to remember with the pie crust is to get it out of the freezer. Yeah, it doesn't thaw well in the microwave. I tried that. Don't do it. Just set it out the night before into the fridge, or for a couple hours on the counter. That's fine. And then once it is pliable and still cold, that is the best time to use it. Use the rolling pin and roll it out. Now, this recipe does best the least flour you add to it when you roll it out. So, and you will need less flour if it's cold. If it is not cold, then you'll need more flour. So, it is the perfect amount of flour right now. You'll have to dust a little bit when you do roll it out, but it'll be good. Now, how do you use it? Same way you use it as the same way you use a regular pie crust. So if your recipe says to bake it ahead of time and use pie weights, go ahead and do that. I don't have pie weights. What do you use when you don't have pie weights? Beans. I have these navy beans. They're never going to be cooked for beans. They've been cooked many times as a pie weight. The other thing about pie weights is they are expensive. Beans you probably already have at home. Use beans. Now, for those that don't know, a pie weight is usually a little ceramic ball that you put a lot in the bottom of a pie crust when the pie crust is cooked before the rest of the pie. So if you're cooking the pie crust at the same time as the pie, you don't need pie weights. Yeah, so there's your tip. See if there's any other tips I can think of. I think that's it. Keep it cold, and if you don't have pie weights, use beans. Yeah, enjoy, and I hope that this finds you well. I will link 2 videos at the end of this for 2 holiday pies. One is the fudge nut pie, and one is pumpkin pie. And I will link those on the end screen. And they're wonderful, wonderful pies, both holiday pies that I make. And these are videos that I recorded last year, so they might not be as good as the videos more recent times, but they will still give you the information that you need to make wonderful, wonderful pie. All right, share with someone who needs a new pie crust recipe that is wonderful, and have a wonderful holiday season. And I hope you tell me, if you make this, tell me in the comments what you think about it. Tell me if it's wonderful. Tell me if you like your other way of making it. Tell me any adjustments you made to it, and we'll all learn from each other. All right, have a great day.